Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me.
Adam, what's your point? The future looks bright.
My handshake is better than anything I ever signed. Right here.
You are a one-of-one?
My son's right about
I don't think I've ever said this before.
All right, Business Wednesday. We decided to up the game a little bit with looks. We decided to bring Brad Lea with a great voice, who should have been in Hollywood. He should have been a big-time actor. We should have been, like, looking at this guy at academies, but he chose to get into business. And he's made some money for himself. So, Brad, it's great to have you on a podcast here today.
Thank you.
We got Tom and Brandon. The goal is to get smarter, folks. We got Rob and I here as well to facilitate. But some of the things that we're talking about, whatever you're doing right now, there's a group of people that are on the way to China to have a meeting there. And some of these guys are some of the most powerful capitalists in the world. A guy named Elon Musk you may recognize. Jensen Huang, who apparently they picked up somewhere with the Air Force One or something happened. You know, the fake news said he was not going. Then the president tweeted and said he is going. And so he's also going. Then you got Tim Cook. You got a bunch of guys. So we have to talk about what's going on there. Why is this such a big trip? Is this all the people getting off the plane, Rob?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so why is this such a big deal? What are the conversations going to be happening? You know, $1 trillion investment in the U.S., you know, what topics will happen with Iran? So we'll definitely cover that ourselves. Now, while this is happening, talk about timing. A lady named Eileen from Arcadia, California, is a Chinese spy, and she admitted to it. So if there's ever been a time to be the worst time to go to China, can you imagine Trump's like, hey, can you stop sending these spies to America? Like, this is enough to Xi. And she's going to be like, what are you talking about? Well, one of your girls just told us she's a spy and she's doing this. So that happened simultaneously just a day ago in the story of this girl from Arcadia, Mayor Eileen Wang, great name, who is dealing with being a Chinese spy herself. Then we got the story with eBay and GameStop we got to get to because eBay finally said, listen, we don't want this offer, but you have to just see the exchange. We never reacted to it. We will. The president made a comment about economy. It's like, hey, what do you think about the people that are having a hard time with economy? And he says, well, look, that's the last thing on my mind or something like that. We'll play the clip. And there's a lot of criticism on how that was answered. And another person said something about the ballroom. And he just looked at it and he says, you're a dumb person. I mean, it's just, you know, he said, you are a dumb person. Can you imagine? That was actually said. That's not AI. The president said that. And maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong, but that is something that he ended up saying. Mamdani claims he balanced the budget. Look how great communism is. I'm going to balance the budget in New York, but he's not telling the full story. Part of it has to do with Eric Adams, the guy before him. Part of it has to do that mommy from New York State sent $4 billion. I think she sent $8 billion. What's your allowance, by the way? Think about what your allowance was when you were a kid. There's this mayor in New York City whose allowance is $4 billion a year, and mommy bails him out because she wants to support his socialistic agenda. So we're going to talk about that. The president told him, he says, why don't you be a little bit nicer to billionaires? Can you imagine what a weird thing to say? Be a little nicer to billionaires. Mamdani, he's not going to be nicer. He's doing what he's doing. And while that's going on, a data came out showing there's more sellers than buyers in real estate. More sellers than buyers. In a typical market, when there's more sellers than buyers, what happens to the price point? Down. It goes down. But it's kind of not fully happening. We're going to tell, you know, maybe the whole story. We'll get through it. While this is going on, another story came out about Grok. Grok is losing market share, apparently, according to the story. I think it's a Wall Street Journal story. But there's more to it. There's more to it that people are not talking about. We'll get into that as well. First thing in the morning today, CPI 3.8. And, you know, inflation, you know, we'll talk about that. That was literally reported this morning. I saw that on CNBC. Tom, I'm sure you got some thoughts on that. And then we have to play this AI graduation speech. This lady gets up on the stage. Her name is Gloria. And she's a VP of strategic thinking of this one company. Gets on stage. And she's thinking the kids are going to be all in her favor. And then she says something about AI. And you should hear the reaction of the graduating class. She looks around to be bailed out. And she somehow came back into it, but she lost the audience with making one comment about AI. Kids did not like that, and that leads to a story I got here with Gen Z. Gen Z's income stacking. These guys have to have multiple jobs to be able to pay their bills. and it's not a good thing. And I got some data to share with you when it comes down to that, and I know Tom does as well, and Brandon does as well. And then last but not least, this guy named Kevin Hart, who's kind of a big deal. Very funny, very talented. When he's in movies, it's just funny as hell. You got to watch this guy. His business, his media company that at one point was valued at $600 million, apparently is no longer valued at $600 million. There's some speculation about his phone number changed, and maybe this has happened in the past before. And so we'll talk about how to actually run the business and getting the team that wants to work with you and run through the wall with you. So we will talk about that as well with Kevin Hart. So with that being said, before we get started, couple things I want you to be thinking about. You notice with everything that's going on with these guys visiting China and who the president is picking up to take with him, look at the way he thinks on the amount of power he wants to bring to China to sit down in the negotiating table. Why would you bring Musk? Why would you bring Tim Cook? Why would you bring Jensen Huang? Why would you bring all these guys? Why would you take all these guys to go? Maybe this whole thing is about sequencing and decision-making that's going to lead to the end of being what he can get with Iran and, hey, give and take, and he knows the leverage that he has. All of this comes down to one thing, and that is if you want to win in life, you have to know your next 5, 10, 15 moves. So once a year we host a conference called the Vol Conference. I want you to watch this video. It'll give you a little bit of details about them. We'd love to see you at the event. We do this every year. This is the Super Bowl. We're expecting 12,000 people this year at the Vol Conference. Go ahead, Rob. So the sequence in which decisions you make in life matter. Let me explain to what I mean by this. If you and I were to play chess, do you know how many first moves you can make playing chess? Only 20. You have 20 different ways of making a first move. You know the second move? 400 different type of moves. Third move is 5,362 different ways. But you know what your fourth move is? You have 319 billion different ways to make the first 4 moves in chess. So let alone life. So what does this mean? Do I start the business first, or do I save the money? Do I get married and have the kids and travel? Everything is about sequencing. This is why at the Vol Conference, we talk about making your next 5 moves. Move number 1, master knowing yourself. Move number 2, the ability to reason and make better decisions. Number 3, putting your team together. Number 4, how to scale. Number 5, power plays when it becomes nasty and competitive. So if you're somebody that wants to take your life and your business to the next level, once a year we host a conference called the Vol Conference. This year we're doing it at MGM Grand Arena, Las Vegas. 12,000 people from 60+ countries will be attending from August 31st to September 3rd. If you haven't yet registered, click on a link above or below. Get registered. I look forward to seeing you there. There you go. So Vol Conference, go to vault2026.com. Again, vault2026.com. Get your tickets. Come down to the event. It'll be some of the best. I believe we have the best business community in the world. I really believe that. And I'll tell you based on what? It's not just money. We talk money, values and principles, how to raise your family, faith, raising your net worth. Everybody, you're in a room with 12,000 different people that look at life similarly to the way you do. So if you haven't yet registered, click on the link below. Go to vault2026.com, register. We'll look forward to seeing you there. Okay, with that being said, let's get right into it. China. So U.S., the president, has a trip that was supposed to be in March, gets postponed. Let's see what happens with Iran. He didn't have the cards at the time, or he didn't feel like there was a need to go there at the time. But this time when he's going to China, he goes stacked. Who does he take with him? He takes his power players. He takes the guy that is about to step down from Apple, but is running a $4.5 trillion company. He takes another guy named Jensen Huang, who is running NVIDIA, and it's currently valued at $5.2 to $5.5 trillion. He takes all these power players with him on the way. He takes Elon Musk, that's worth about $850 billion, struggling financially. You may want to start a GoFundMe to support him a little bit, right? He can buy countries. That's how much wealth he has. And he's taking it with him to say, let me tell you who we're coming here with, right? And so while that's going on, everyone's speculating. What's going to be talked about? Will Iran be on the table? Will the investments they're making in the U.S. be on the table? Will Taiwan be on the table? Allegedly, some of the topics, he's even talking about one of the guys that got arrested. What's the guy's name, Rob? The guy that got arrested?
Jimmy Lai?
Jimmy Lai, yeah, that got arrested. Apparently, he was a loud billionaire saying certain things. Notice Jack Ma kind of disappeared, and he's not saying anything anymore. So there's a lot of topics that people are speculating. Tom, what do you think is the outcome of this visit to China, and what do you define as success?
So I don't know what I define success as overall, because there's two vectors. I think there's a global influence vector, and then there's the economic deal vector. Trump's over there to make economic deals. He's got the tariff situation. He's got the guys over there, and they were talking about chips. He didn't want Jensen Huang to sell the high-end chips, only sell the mid-tier chips to China. Jensen Huang is eager to sell to whomever because he's a capitalist and he wants to sell around the world. So I think one is trade deals that would ultimately be beneficial and kind of calm down the tariff thing for the American consumer, and to make long-term deals, number one. But number two, on the world stage, I think there's going to be some quiet discussions, because remember, China keeps shipping sodium perchlorate over to Iran, and that is the white salt that is used to make rocket fuel. There have ships that have gotten through since the start of the war. Since the beginning of this year, they have shipped between 1,000 and 2,000 tons of it to Iran, and they need that. It's a critical material to make rocket fuel. So part of it's going to be knock off the rocket fuel stuff on the back door, dude. I mean, that's going to be quiet behind closed doors. But then in front of everybody, you're going to have the photo op. The photo op will have Tim Cook, the economic people, everybody there shaking hands, talking about tariffs. That's the photo op. The second line, I think, is on the back end, which is, listen, dude, you were propping up Venezuela. We've kind of let you know what we think of that. We're working on the Panama Canal, and the crap you were pulling with Hutch is pulling back, and now I got the Panama Supreme Court said this. So let's figure out this canal thing and Hutch selling its position, and let's do these deals. So I think the economic things are going to be Panama Canal, chips, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I got three.
Lot of photo ops.
I like that. I got 3 clips of the president revealing what some of the topics may be. Rob, whichever one you want to start off with. Why don't we go with the first one, providing Taiwan with weapons? Go with that one first if you got it. Go for it.
There's a lot of support for Taiwan from Japan and from countries from that area.
Do you think we should still be selling them weapons? The United States should.
Well, I'm going to have that discussion with President Xi. President Xi would like us not to, and I'll have that discussion. That's one of the many things I'll be talking about. We'll have he and I have gotten along well, other than with COVID. I was not. I was just not accepting of what happened with COVID. But other than that, he and I have he's a great gentleman. I find him to be an amazing man. And when I say that, the press always says, oh, that's terrible that he called it. He runs 1.4 billion people with a pretty iron fist. He loves his country, I can tell you that. President Xi, I look forward to being there. And if he felt anything, we wouldn't be doing it. But a lot of good things can happen.
You can pause it right there. So, Brandon, when you're watching this, there's another thing he talks about Iran, which we'll get into here in a second as well. And then, Brad, I'll come to you. When you hear all these different things of him going there, what do you think are the top 3 issues for him? And what do you think are the top 3 issues for China?
I would say for him, top 3 issues are trade deal, Iran.
You put trade above Iran?
Yeah, ultimately, because I mean, that's been his biggest issue the entire time, and Supreme Court kind of took some power away from him with that. So I think if that's one of our biggest threats when it comes to China is the imbalance between that. So I think getting that squared away is number one. That's the long-term issue. Iran's more of a short-term issue, and then I think AI for sure, and then I think Taiwan, because Taiwan. The question is, all right, if we stop giving them weapons, are you just going to go over there and take it, China? Which a lot of people are saying they probably will try to. I don't think they'd be successful if they did that. But with him bringing those guys over, I think a lot of it's symbolic. But at the same time, that's the real might of America. That's the real power of America, is its biggest companies. Like the CIA, a lot of the effort goes into protecting and putting our companies in the biggest position of strength. Because what's our GDP in reality? It's really the market cap of our biggest companies and what they could do to other countries.
So what do you think China's top 3 is? I agree with most of your analysis of the U.S., but what would China's top 3 be?
China's top 3 is probably keeping Apple in China, because they employ like 3 million people there, right?
Keeping Apple in China.
Yeah, I'd say that's up there. Keeping U.S. So Chinese manufacturing and U.S. consumption is like really the backbone of the entire global economy. So China's manufacturing.
Tim Cook took 25% of it to India.
Yeah,
right? They
started
the
producing. They started moving it over there. Yeah,
right. So you're saying the number one thing for him would be to keep the Apple manufacturing the 3 million jobs there in China.
To keep American manufacturing in China.
Still there.
Yeah, to stop that trend
What
from
else?
going
What else
away.
outside of that?
I'd say getting the AI, the Blackwell chips from NVIDIA is probably a big one too.
And then last but not least?
I'd say probably securing their energy. So, oil, a lot of their oil comes from
So you
Iran.
think Iran and oil for them is 3?
Yeah, because
are you on the same page?
No, I think oil and Taiwan are like 1A,
I think so
1B,
as well.
right at the top. Then I think it's trade and chips. I think it's
Really?
that simple for Taiwan.
Why Taiwan?
Because the oil influences the discussions about Panama Canal and Venezuela and Iran. So oil, energy, and Taiwan, I think, were 1 or 2.
You know what it is? It's kind of like Taiwan is the word you say to get under the guy's skin. He knows what he's doing. Taiwan is the X. Taiwan is like, hey, talk about anything, but don't talk about Taiwan because that's mine.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a guy who gets married and he's got a family and he's got a main squeeze, but he wants to make sure his ex doesn't date any of his friends. Make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't know any better analogy than to give to that. He's kind of like, hey, even though I'm married, you better not date Mary. Okay, I'm telling you, Brad, don't hook up with her. I heard you guys are texting each other. You better not date Mary. I think there's a little bit of, and he knows. He's like, hey, how's Mary doing?
And he's a
How's
troller. Trump's a troller. Can you see Trump trolling?
Yeah. Are you kidding?
Xi, Qatar.
I hear she's really good. I hear she's really good in bed. I hear like they want to talk to. I mean, listen, I'm not calling her. She's calling me. What do you want me to do?
Exactly.
I think he's kind of doing that. Brad, what do you think?
That'd be a violation of bro code. Can't do that. I think he's going over there like a boss, and he's bringing the decision makers with him, which I think indicates that there's probably more of the economics on the table, oil. I also know that, like, I need to read more before I come join these shows. You guys are some well-read individuals. I don't know that they were shipping sodium pichlorinate anywhere. Like, damn, Tom. Well,
That's the problem with Tom.
I know. It's like
Tom will drop some shit on
I
you.
feel ill-equipped. Ill-equipped. But when I just look at the story, I'm thinking, A, boss move. Why? Trump's a relationship guy. He understands that relationships are the bottom line. China and Russia, we don't want those guys buddying up as much as they have been in the past, right? So it's like, let's bring some power over here. China needs money, wants money, right? So let's bring the money. I'm bringing decision makers. I'm not bringing some representatives. I'm showing up with full-blown firepower so we can shake hands and make a deal and not say, let's talk about it next time.
Yeah, and you know what I like about this, Brad? I like the fact that story came out saying Jensen Huang's not going, right? NVIDIA. And he knows how important that is for him to go. So allegedly, he calls and he says, you're coming with us. And he's like, I got other things to do. I don't care what's going on. You're coming with us. Allegedly, he says that. Then he tweets out, is this it, Rob? What is this one?
This was just a quick report from Reuters yesterday confirming that Jensen Huang
wasn't going. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead and put this one and then we'll read the tweet. Go ahead.
One CEO not making the trip is NVIDIA's Jensen Huang, a person familiar with the matter said on Monday. Huang was not invited, the source said, with the White House focusing more on agriculture and commercial aviation matters on the current trip. NVIDIA has been pushing the administration to allow it to sell some of its AI chips to Beijing. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment.
Okay, so this is then. So everybody's like, okay, Jensen Huang, why is he not going? He said no to the president. Allegedly, the president made the phone call, and then the president puts this tweet out there. If you want to put the tweet of what he said, we had it on our group text, Rob. I don't know if you have it or just go. You can do it here, or you can go to. So the president says, I'll just read it here, Rob, until you get it, and so the audience can see it. The president responds, says, "This is fake news. This never happened. This was not a story of anybody saying." We just literally shared it this morning. Somebody sent it. Is it in the guest podcast? Is it in the business podcast?
I know where it is. I'm sorry.
It was on Truth Social over to X.
Yeah, we had it. So anyway, so he says, no, it's fake news. This really happened. This is not something that didn't happen. CNBC incorrectly reported that the great Jensen Huang of NVIDIA was not invited to the incredible gathering of businessmen, women proudly going to China. In actuality, Jensen is currently on Air Force One, and unless I ask him to leave, which is highly unlikely, CNBC is reporting fake news. It is an honor to have Jensen Huang, Elon, Tim from Apple, Tim Apple, he calls him, Larry Fink, Steven Schwartzman, Kelly, and he goes through a list of all this stuff, and many others journeying to the great country of China, where I will be asking President Xi, a leader of extraordinary distinction, to open up China so that brilliant people can work their magic and help bring the People's Republic to an even higher level. You know what I like about this? In fact, I even promised that we are together, which will be in a matter of hours. I will make that my very first request. I've been seen or heard of any idea that would be more beneficial to our incredible countries. Okay, you know what I love about this is the fact that the guy understands events and he understands optics and he's willing to make the phone call. What's the likelihood he called him and says, you're getting on this plane? What's the likelihood? 0 to 100. What do you put it? 50%, 100%, 90%?
80.
I got him at 100%.
I'm 100%.
Yeah, he called him and he says, hey, we're not doing this without you getting on this trip. You're getting on this trip. Why do I like that? Because sometimes in life you have to realize, like when you're going to a big, and what is a bigger meeting than this right now? I don't know if there's a bigger meeting than this.
No.
Who do you want to take with your power players? You're calling and saying, and do you think there was a threat on the call?
Yeah.
Or do you think it's a reminder? Do you think it's a nudge? Do you think it's a 0 to 10 pressure 10?
It's a Trump reminder.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking to Scott Bessent. He said Q1 next year would look a lot better if you were selling more chips to China.
Yeah.
Just something he said. I don't know if it's right or wrong.
That's
I
right.
don't know.
He's going to say,
But,
I thought
so
we were doing
listen,
you well. I thought we were doing this. I thought we did this. I think he's going to remind him what he's done for
kind
him.
of a reminder.
And it's going to be like, you better get on the plane. And guess what? I guarantee you, he definitely had a nice Big Mac waiting for him. And maybe that was a selling point. Who knows? But I like the fact that he made the call. And look, whether he was not supposed to be on or not, guess what? I like that he made the phone call. That's what leaders are supposed to do, to say, hey, diplomacy, get on. We need you when we're going to this trip in China. So while you're looking at this, and this is taking place, for me, it goes to a few other stories with it, because this conversation leads to, with the China, with the, Iran and all this other stuff. And one of the videos that you have, Rob, where he says, we're going to be also talking about Iran. If you want to go to that one, is this it?
Yes, sir.
Go for it, Rob.
What is your message to President Xi as it relates to the Iran war?
Well, I think, number one, we're going to have a long talk about it. I think he's been relatively good, to be honest with you. You look at the blockade, no problems. They get a lot of their oil from that area. We've had no problem, and he's been a friend of mine. He's been somebody that we get along with. And I think you're going to see that good things are going to happen. This is going to be a very exciting trip. A lot of good things are going to happen.
Do you think he needs to intervene at all with the Iranians?
I don't think
he
he
can
does,
help
no.
in any way?
No, I don't think we need any help with Iran. We'll win it one way or the other. We'll win it peacefully or otherwise. Their Navy's gone. Their Air Force is gone. Every single element of their war machine is gone.
But there's one thing nobody is talking about. You can pause that right there. You can pause this one here, Rob. It says, Trump says Iran is on life support, right? And there is one thing nobody is talking about in regards to Iran. And I want to know if you've read any of this stuff here, Tom, while I go through it. Do you know when people think about where we get internet from? Do you know 97% of the internet that we use, to upwards of 99%, is it satellites or is it underwater?
Cable.
It's cable. And cable is where?
Underwater.
Underwater. 97% underwater. You know how many thousand miles? There's 750,000 miles of cable underwater. Each mile to build these is between $400,000 to $1.1 million to create each mile of this. So go 750,000 miles of cable. Okay. What the hell does this have to do with anything? If you want to pull up these cables, Rob, on what they look like, the underwater cables for internet, and if you go to that one right there, go to that one right there. Can you? No, the one, that's what it looks like, just so you know. But go to the fourth image, right there. Can you make that bigger? Okay. This is what Iran just figured out.
Huh.
You see all these cables where they're going through? 60%. Go zoom in a little bit more. That's a pretty shitty quality picture, but we'll do the best with it, Rob. Zoom in a little bit more to India. Do you see that bottom left, like right in the middle of India, that 0 dot right there? Go a little bit higher to show you which one it is. Go right there. Go down a little bit with that arrow, Rob. Can you put it right to the left? Right there. That one right there is Mumbai. 60% of India's internet comes from Mumbai and the cables that go through there. 2 of the connections of these cables go through where? Strait of Hormuz. So Iran has realized, wait a minute, if this collapse, by the way, $10 trillion a day is going through that cable. And they figured out and they said, oh, you guys want to play ball, so guess what we want to do? They've not just been asking about the $2 million per ships that come through a day from Strait of Hormuz, which is 2 million times 60 ships is what? $120 million a day times 30 days. That's a lot of money for these guys to be making, right? If you think about, is it 2 million times 60, $120 million, right?
Yep.
They're not only asking for that because they want to say, we want to control Strait of Hormuz. But guess what now they're asking? They've made 3 requests. 1, they want to take control of the cables that goes through Strait of Hormuz. 2, the entire, if it breaks and fixes, you can't use any other company except for Iran to be able to fix the cable. So they want the business to go through them. And he's now asking, do you know who has cables on Strait of Hormuz? Which companies? Microsoft, Apple, Meta has built their own cables that's going through there. India all of a sudden comes out and is like, wait a minute. We cannot, because Iran's like, hey, we found out about these cables. If you guys mess with it, because back in the days, what China knew how to do was, even Russia trained on this. China had a unit, and Russia as well, where they taught their people on how to go underwater to mess with these cables. And in many instances, they'll go and they'll drop the anchor, okay, in areas that they know where these cables are at, and the ship gradually moves. You know what all of a sudden happens when an anchor gets stuck in the cable? Boom, cuts the cable. All of a sudden, the country loses internet. You know for how long? A long time, because it's not like you call AAA and somebody comes and fixes it within 20, 30 minutes. You know how long it takes to fix these things? Months. Weeks to months to fix them. And if India is now being threatened by this, India is now making a phone call and saying, hey, these Iranians, we thought they were dumb. Apparently, they're not done with the IRGC. Not only do they want to mess with this, but now they're talking about they're going to mess with the cables. If they mess with the cables, guess who's going to be impacted by this economically? Everybody.
The whole world.
The whole world. And is there a country that is famous for saying things like death upon America capable of messing with these cables if you really push them to the corner?
Oh, yeah.
Probably yes. So now this leads to you thinking about one of 2 things. Does the Strait of Hormuz impact the West more, or does it impact China, India, Russia more? Who does the Strait of Hormuz impact negatively most? More us or China and Russia?
China, Russia.
Okay, beautiful. So if it's China or Russia, don't you think this will be a conversation that they're going to be having? Because we're not at a point with the satellite. Oh, we're going to go, internet's coming from the satellite like Starlink. You know how long it takes to fix those things?
Yeah.
Long time to fix it. Internet is underwater, and Iran just brought, can you pull up the story, Rob? They just brought this up a week ago. You've not even heard about the story until about a week ago when Iran said, here's what we want with these cables. So whoever's given this intel to them, is that it? Yeah, there you go. Look at this. Look at this. Iranian state media proposes charging international companies a fee to use fiber optic cables in the Strait of Hormuz. Go a little bit lower. Iran's semi-official Tanzanian agency as a could start tsunami. It has changed Iran. So they ask for 3 different things, which they're getting. And you're starting to see this is becoming a topic. So I wonder if this will be another one of those things that they'll talk about, because if they all of a sudden get reckless and they mess with this, the world is going to be saying, hey, we got to stop, specifically India. So India will be in the middle saying, well, U.S., listen, we kind of got to finish this war because we can't get anything. And the U.S. is going to be like, nope, number 1 priority for us is making sure those guys don't have a nuclear weapon. So this is a bit of a, right there, go to the bottom left. That's how they set up the cables. So look at that guy. That's a maintenance. That's your AAA to fix the cables. Look at that. That's your AAA. And by the way, when you have 750,000 miles of cables, how do you secure them? Do you have cameras down there? Do you have security waiting for them? Do you have people that are waiting there? You ever hear the saying that 94% of the ocean has not been discovered? So if 94% of the ocean has not been discovered, how the hell do you protect 750,000 miles of cables that a country like Iran, if they wanted to disrupt the world, they could? This is it. Look at this. These are all the cables on Strait of Hormuz. And look the connections with Iran. They know, like, they're starting to talk with, I don't know where this information is coming to them, but this has been a known topic for a lot of people, but it's becoming a conversation just in the last week. Brandon.
No, that's fascinating. And I was thinking the exact same thing, that somebody had to have been putting this in their ear and getting in their ear saying this, because for it to come out of nowhere like that, with them to have a plan.
You almost don't want them to be talking about this.
Yeah, no, because if you're dealing with somebody who has nothing to lose, like, you could have all the resources in the world, but they always say that an equal or even more scary opponent than that, somebody who has nothing to lose. So if they're living in pain and no energy, turmoil, what is it to them to do this, to set the world on fire? It's nothing to them.
It's nothing to them. Yeah, Tom, what are your thoughts on this?
You know what? This is the backstory of economic pinch that is going on all over the place. We saw it before, but you don't realize what you're seeing it. And the mainstream media is just not diving in. There's some smart people in mainstream media. You have to squint and look hard to find them, but there are some people out there. Think about Nord Stream. What was Nord Stream? Natural gas pipeline that went from Russia to Germany. All of a sudden, in the middle of the Ukrainian war, way over there, everybody goes, boom. What was that? Did you hear a thump? And all of a sudden, there's natural gas foaming out of the North Sea until the Russians got it turned off. In 2021, Pat, what percent of natural gas to Europe, EU, came from the United States? 6%.
Yeah.
By 2024, after Nord Stream got bonked in 2022, that was 28%. The end of last year, it was approaching 40%. By the end of this year, the natural gas, LNG, to EU from the United States will be 80%. And guess who's no longer collecting money on the Nord Stream pipeline because they haven't been able to fix it? Russia. Because they've been kind of busy with the Ukraine thing, and there's like this, and maybe our guy's got cancer, maybe he doesn't. Now, fast forward here, these are the backstories of economic pinch. Everybody was saying the CIA, the CIA cut the Nord Stream pipeline. It doesn't matter who you think cut, who benefited later. The U.S. is now up to 60% natural gas. You hear Trump say, we got lots of natural gas, lots of gas going to Europe, lots of gas. And guess what? He knows he's got the card there. 60% will be 80%, they say, by the end of 2028. 80%, because Europe is moving from fossil fuels, natural gas burns cleaner. So guess what? You've got all that going. Now you've got this. This doesn't surprise me at all, Pat. This is Nord Stream with data bits, where once you break it, who wins? Or they just want to put a toll booth on it and with a light switch.
So here's a question.
Okay. All right. Listen, I'm upset.
Question,
no OnlyFans for Europe. Click.
This is the question, though. And Brad, I'm going to come to you, and then I'm going to come to you. The question becomes the following for me. If you're negotiating with a country like Iran, okay, they just brought this up, the cable. Okay, so then you have to ask yourself, did they figure this out? Or did Russia drop this on them and whisper to them and say, hey, like, do you think if you're sitting down with Iran and Russia in that room that they had Abbas Araghchi that went over there and met with them in Russia? I don't know if you remember that when Putin said we're teammates, we're allies. What do you think is the possibility of Abbas Araghchi saying the following to Putin? Hey, Vladimir, question for you. What is the one area of pain that we can bring to the world that nobody is thinking about? And maybe Putin's team are like, you know what's the one thing nobody is thinking about? What's that? Let me tell you with Nord Stream pipeline, CIA was behind it. Tom, you know if you want to scare them up, you know what you do? What's that? Why don't you go talk about all the cables that are coming through the Strait of Hormuz? They'll be shitting bricks. They won't act like it's scary, but they'll be shit. What do you think is a likelihood of that meeting? So he goes, meets with Putin 2 weeks ago. Putin says we're allies and we have your back. And then a week later, you come out and drop cables on him. So I think this was dropped to them by Russian intel to say this is one way. Because this morning I got a question from somebody that's big on news and asking me a question about Iran and all this other stuff. And I was telling this person about the concept of economic hitman, how America was known for having the biggest business of economic hitman. It used to be Britain. Britain was the best one. They did this to Iran and to other people.
Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
That's the guy, John Perkins. Yeah, I had him on 2 or 3 times. So I think there's something here where they're flipping it. Brad, how are you processing this information here?
I'm tracking with you. I mean, that makes sense to me.
How do you negotiate this? So I guess if it's you now you're U.S., okay? And in U.S. right now, we have people that are not supportive of the war. 60% of them is not supportive of the war, right? They're like, this is a waste of time. Now it's hitting my pockets. Gas prices are up to $4.50. Diesel is at $5.35. You know, I'm starting to spend more money. This is not fun. But Iran, the country that wants to have nuclear weapons, they've said it publicly that they want to have it. And now they're telling you with the cable, if that's the negotiation that they're having, how do you negotiate back with Iran? Do you sit there and say, okay, you can get some revenue from the cables, you can get some revenue from the Strait of Hormuz? How do you negotiate with them?
You know, I would have to get a little bit more into the details only because, you know, what do they want? What's their end goal? And based on that, I would. If it's a nuclear weapon, that can't happen.
They want the nuclear weapon.
That can't happen.
Yeah, on the 14-point deal that they're talking about, one of them is, let's open up the Strait of Hormuz, let's lift the sanctions, and then let's talk about nuclear control enrichment for us later on. But, you know, we are eventually going to have nuclear. If Pakistan can have nuclear weapons, why can't we? If North Korea can have nuclear weapons, why can't we? That's the kind of position they're taking.
What is the answer?
What is the answer?
No, but what is the answer to that? Why can't they?
Okay, so that's the position you would take.
Well, I mean, I need more details. Like, I don't study this news all day.
No, but ask the question. That's a fair question to ask because a lot of people are asking the question.
I'd like to know.
It's not an innocent question. Some people are saying, why can't they have it? Now, the argument to that is these are such reckless, crazy human beings that they hate America and they hate what we stand for. And they've publicly said that the Mojtaba Khamenei made comments 3 or 4 days ago about what's going to happen to U.S. You know which comments I'm talking about that we just read a week ago, Rob? Where he says there will be a day where U.S. will be destroyed or something like that. This is their supreme leader that is talking about wanting to destroy the West. You can find a quote on what he said on their state TV, or he said it to his people. When you find it, we'll talk about it. So, but some people are saying, do we want a leader like that to have nuclear weapons?
No, I don't think there should be nuclear weapons ever again. There's enough to annihilate the whole world. So what's the purpose of having one?
Why can't Iran have it?
Look how great it is for North Korea. We leave them alone because they have one. So you can't really do anything to a country once they have nuclear weapons.
So you are saying it's okay if they have it?
No, I'm saying that's why they cannot have it, because once they do have it, they have too much leverage over us.
Okay, so let me come to you as a negotiator. Think like a negotiator with the access to information that we have right now.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing with Iran? They're telling you what they want with Strait of Hormuz. They're telling you they want you to lift the sanctions. They're telling you that they want to have a nuclear weapon. They're telling you that we want to get revenue on this cable system that we have in Strait of Hormuz. How do you negotiate with them now?
Yeah, I mean...
Is it at all cost? Is it using leverage by China to team up with you and say, China, stop helping Iran? How do you do it now?
Yeah,
give them the money they
want.
want.
You have to match their level of savagery. Unfortunately, like it's not going to be a pretty situation.
Okay, so you're saying match their savagery.
Like,
you're saying give them the $30 billion that's sitting in the account. Tom, what do you do?
No, you can't. You have to push them hard. And the issue is you got to control Russia. No one's talking about Russia here. Russia is so pissed at the United States because our entire government, except our president, was willing to help Ukraine. Now, I'm not going to take sides in the Russia invaded first, and basically Biden gave him the wink, wink, green light. But then we gave all this aid to Ukraine, and they bought all the things that you needed to fight a war,
like yachts,
tanks. Wait, you missed my punchline. Tanks, planes, drones, Bentleys, and yachts. All the things you need to fight a war, according to what they were buying. And then what did Russia do with Iran? The first weeks of the engagement, they did this. They gave them satellite imagery of where we had concentrations of equipment, Pat, in our bases in the Middle East. That was Russian satellite imagery. Hey, if you're going to launch these drones over to Oman and UAE, Boris, this is what you want to do. Here, and here, the Americans have got a lot of supplies and things built up. You might want to hit them. Then Russia was caught giving there's an Iranian drone called the Shahed drone, Shahed, Shahed.
That's the main one they make.
But it had poor tracking system on it. The Russians gave them technology to improve the tracking system, along with they gave them the targeting information on the ground. So if Russia is giving that to Iran and they are so pissed at us about Ukraine, do you think they're also giving them a map of the undersea cables? Yes. Probably. Do you think Russia's got better intel on the undersea cables than Iran does? Yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so what do you got to do about this? You either have to be more ruthless than the other guy and push it all the way over in a war that got far deeper than you wanted. Because if you stop now, we'll talk about nukes later. And now we have to, okay, so listen, we'll make a deal. You don't touch the cables. You get a toll booth on the ships on the water. You get a toll booth on the cables under the water. And we'll talk about nukes later. That's a W for Iran.
No way. Yeah.
That's a W for Iran.
So this is the part, and it goes to the folks who are sitting there who are not supportive of the war. Okay? So you finish up today and you give everything with Iran. We get the gas prices to go back down to $2.89 or, $3.25 or whatever the numbers are. Great. But they get control of the Strait of Hormuz for the $2 million. They're able to enrich. You give them the $30 billion. And they have control because the three requests they made is maintenance, that anybody that's using a cable of Strait of Hormuz, they have to pay Iran a fee. The asks they're making. And by the way, just so you know, it's It's ridiculous on what can happen. So some people are like, I don't want to deal with it. The 60% of the community. Let's not do any of that stuff. Let's give Iran everything they want. Is that a better position? This is a very complicated situation.
You just gave your competitor 2 new product lines, a toll booth on the water and then a toll booth on the cables under the water. Now he makes economic money on that to raise more havoc that he's already been doing.
That becomes the Panama Canal of the East.
Yeah,
that's a lot of control.
With the wrong guy.
If you're giving them control, like, you can take it back. So it's like it's almost like pacifying them. Like, you want control? Okay, here, you can have control. You only have control until I say you don't again. So at the end of the day, do you really have control? Or are you just pacified, calm down, and we can carry on? Because at the end of the day, who controls it? Well, whoever's the most mighty and powerful is who controls it. If I allow him to think he's controlling this company when I own the shares and I own the board, he don't control shit.
You don't, though. But you don't. In this case, it wouldn't be the case. Because in this case, if everybody is going through paying the $2 million to them, it's $60 a day. If everybody, that's a lot of money to them. And guess what they're going to do the longer time goes by? More cash, more weapons, tougher. We learned that Iran is not Venezuela. Venezuela was easy. Boom, boom, we got Maduro, we're out, right? And now they're joking about making Venezuela the 51st state. I don't know if you saw that or not. They're talking about, hey, what can we do to make Venezuela the 51st state? Iran has shown they're more relentless and they're not wired like other people are. Like, it's celebration if I die for my country in Iran. If I die for my prophet, it's a celebration for them. Their mothers celebrate. I cannot believe my son killed himself on behalf of our religion, on behalf of what we stand for. It's a very, very different community. Here we mourn. They celebrate when somebody dies.
You know it could be done. I mean, and since we're saying that they're not rational actors there, but China and Russia are rational actors, even though we have our differences with them. Like, we could say, all right, screw Ukraine. Let's make Russia happy temporarily and have them help us bleed Iran out, because, you know, Iran wouldn't be nearly as strong and in a position of strength if Russia and China weren't supporting it economically and from an intel standpoint.
Yeah. Well, this is talking about, Trump was asked about the economy, Rob, and this one clip here, we can spend a couple minutes on it, got a lot of criticism because he was asked, so what do you think about the struggles people are having in America with the economy and the challenges and all this stuff? And he just got back and he says, look, you know, the last thing on my mind is, go ahead, I'll let him tell you. Go for it, Rob.
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all. That's the only thing that motivates.
So this was the hot topic yesterday. And while they're asking the question, somebody also asked about the ballroom. And he says, you're a dumb person, right? So every day something new happens that goes viral. But this was the moment that the president had yesterday. Rob, I don't know if you have the other one or not. But while you're looking, is that the one? It's short. Go for it.
So what happened is we have a ballroom that's under budget. It's going up right here. I've doubled the size of it because we obviously need that. And we're right now on budget, under budget, and ahead of schedule. I doubled the size of it, you dumb person. Double the size. Okay. You are not a smart person.
You can pause it right. Come on, so Tom, address the first issue and the second issue. Go for it.
The first person that's a dumb person? No. All he had to say there in the ballroom is the ballroom's been privately financed. Taxpayers aren't funding it, but taxpayers are going to benefit because you're going to have this ballroom there. And I made it bigger and we're on budget. But he is who he is, so he's got to kind of push a little bit there. You know, he was upset. You could tell he was getting frustrated. You could tell there's tension there. You can tell when a leader's got a little tension going. And so with Trump, you can see the tension and patience because his answers become actually more quick and strong. And you can tell when he's a little annoyed. And he's like, all I'm worried about is they can't have a nuclear weapon. You know, that's a common thing you might say. But she asked about it, and what he should have said, because it came out bad, is I am deeply concerned about them not having a nuclear weapon. And the sooner we solve that, the sooner the war's over, and then the sooner we can get back to helping the American people with energy and gas costs and everything else. But right now, We're stopping them from having a nuclear weapon and simultaneously trying to help the economy. But when the war's over, then everybody gets help. And I'm deeply concerned about the American people. If he does it like that, then you hear a president that is properly talking about the two problems that are on his desk. But instead, it sounded dismissive, and it kind of gives the mainstream media the angle to go with, which I didn't like. It could have been said better.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's talk about not reading the room. I mean, before this war even kicked off, the biggest Achilles heel for him going into the midterms was the cost of living. And I mean, the reason it's a big deal is because the difference between a capitalist and socialist country is a strong middle class. If your middle class starts getting eroded because of the cost of living, then you turn to a socialist society because, like 80% of the country can't afford basic things like rent and food and energy. Then, you start, like a lot of people don't understand why it's happening, so they start to get desperate and they, accept the sales pitch from a socialist politician like AOC or Gavin Newsom or Bernie Sanders, who tells them, yeah, it's not fair. We're going to give you, universal basic income, or we're going to tax the billionaires and give you, payouts for it because you can't afford to live and it's their fault. So I think he's creating that problem for the future. But talk about in terms of not reading the room and like who's fault it actually is. I mean, put that aside, but I'm not even certain that Iran had nuclear weapons to begin with. So saying that with certainty, not super clear on that. So to say, it doesn't matter your cost of living, I think that should be the biggest issue.
Brad Lea.
Well, I agree with him only because, again, if they'll use it, which sounds to be the case, well, then they can't have one under any circumstances. So it doesn't really matter. And again, I think we already know he's not politically the best president we've ever had.
Politically correct. Like he's not correct. A guy. Yeah.
Yeah, like he doesn't know what to say half the time. So he just says what he feels, which I prefer. Like I'd rather be told the truth and be offended than be lied to and feel all comfortable. Because the truth always, I think, is the best answer, even if it offends people.
What he's saying isn't true. Like before, he was saying inflation's gone. That wasn't true at the time, and now it's worse because of the situation. And you could say there's an off ramp. You could say what the plan is, but I don't think he realizes how many people he's speaking to when he says that.
Yeah,
whether they're in his side or not on his side, he's speaking to a lot of people on his own side with that.
Well, you also have to worry about, like, how do you trust the media in the first place? Like, when someone says Trump said this or did this, how do you know that's even true? And then when you hear him say it right out of his mouth, you say, well, that's a lie. How do you know?
Yeah.
Sorry.
But the part here with the economy, now, he could have worded that in a different way because sometimes, this is the part again, when you come out of a meeting and then the camera's on you, like I will do some clips sometimes and I'm reacting and nobody knows. Two annoying things just happen right before I'm supposed to get in front of camera and be in a good mood and, hey, let me tell you about how you can do this and do that. And you're like, two things just didn't go my way. And we just got a massive issue with this and I'm dealing with that and that property didn't sell and this person did this and that person did that and then you want me to be and then imagine if I'm running a small business. Now imagine you're the president of the free world and how many calls like that you're going to have? Well, Russia's not good with you. Putin just said this, and Carney is bullshitting around with Obama and Alex Soros, and then one of your guys you find out is spying news to New York Times, and another person, and then you get in front of the camera. So what he does, you're a dumb person. You're this. So of course, you can say that's diplomacy. You got to have a better way of handling it. It is what it is. There is pressure, and the topic of affordability is a real thing because this led to numbers coming out just this morning. CPI, 3.8% that came up today. And it's up, and there's a clip of this right there. Consumer price rose 3.8% annually in April, the highest since May 2023. Excluding food and energy, the CPI core the increased 0.4% and 2.8% respectively, keeping inflation well above the Federal Reserve 2% goal. Though energy, and particularly gasoline, has been much of the headline story, inflation pressures also came from a variety of other areas. The report also contains bad news for workers as real average hourly wages slipped 0.5% for the month and fell 0.3% annually. Tom.
Oil is driving this. And just moments ago, I sent it to you, Rob, Market Watch wholesale prices. I just sent it to you.
Tom, he'll look for
there it is.
Go.
Wholesale prices, which is called the CPI, Consumer Price Index, and then you have PPI, Producer Price Index. So this is wholesale cost. Wholesale prices have hit a 4-year high and have climbed 6% over the year. There it is. Yep, Market Watch. The nice thing about Market Watch is they don't spin it. They just put the numbers for you, and they don't try to spin it. Well, at least not as much as others. And so what this means is, and it says that this is driven more by oil. Transportation of goods increases my wholesale cost. Brad and I sell a bunch of citrus, and then now we're dealing with $5.50 diesel fuel. It costs a lot of money to get all of our citrus from Florida to the rest of the United States now. That's in the price of those grapefruits and oranges now because we got to add the price. So the producer price index is up. And so what it's saying is that the war is having an effect on it. What's more alarming to me in the middle of these two things is what we don't see. So much forward planning happens, and fertilizer for next year, they've run out of the previously purchased, they've run through the previously purchased fertilizer at yesterday's prices, which they used to plant this year's crops. Next year's fertilizer futures are up 40%. And so they're scared to death that everybody is nervous, including me, that what's about to happen is inflation next year driven by food is going to be up because it's going to cost more to drive. There it is. Key nutrients trading 30 to 40% higher than previous levels. That's 2027. That's 2027 because I have to buy it. If I need 40 tons of fertilizer, I got to put in an early order to ensure they can deliver it to me for 27. And so right now, inflation is creeping up, and it's being driven by the war and oil. And it's not just, 10 hours
Brandon.
in and out of Venezuela, was it?
Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, they say excluding food and energy, inflation's only up by this much, but it just so happens that those are the two things that people really need to live. So, I mean, yeah, if you want to just survive at the very least, those two things affect you, the stuff you buy on the shelf that are material things that could come and go. But it's kind of a silly thing for them to say just aside from the things you need to live, inflation's not up that much. So I don't think they should spin it that way. And I mean, think about what the impact the war has had on fertilizer, for example, or energy the last 5 years. So Ukraine and Russia, biggest places we get fertilizer from, in two huge places from a commodity standpoint, oil standpoint, and then this happens. So it's really these, I guess, unnecessary conflicts in a lot of ways that are driving the thing up. But you can't ignore those two things. Those are the two things people need to live.
Brad Lea.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with everything you guys are saying. The only thing I don't understand with some of this is where's the, in my mind, perceived manipulation of the market? Because if you look at everything, when oil goes up, who decides it goes up? Supply and demand. We have tons of oil. How come we're not tapping into it?
We can't use all of our oil because we have refineries that are built for heavy oil, and we only have light oil. So
I know, but see, this is what I'm talking about. These are all, to me, excuses. If you want to get off dependency, you have to, be proactive. So all these inflations, they're being allowed. Obviously, it's manipulation. Is my point. They want these prices to go up.
Here's what the president had to say about it. Go for it, Rob. About the inflation. Go ahead, Rob.
And as soon as this war is over, which will not be long, you're going to see oil prices drop, and you're going to see a stock market, which is already at the highest point in history, go through the roof. You're going to see the golden age of America, frankly, and you're seeing it now. So as soon as this is done, don't forget, you have hundreds of ships that are loaded up with oil that want to come out. As soon as they come out, we're going to have a gusher of oil, and you're going to have inflation that goes way down.
Okay,
now, with all of this, inflation is much lower.
You can pause it, Rob. While this is going on, he announces supporting suspending federal gas tax. Now, what will that mean to you? This is a Wall Street Journal story where the president is entertaining the idea of stopping federal gas tax. States can do it as well. All these blue states that charge a bunch of money for gas tax, right? California being the highest one, if not the top two. Here's what the president had to say. He said he supports suspending federal gasoline tax, responding to a surge in fuel prices. I'm going to, he told the reporters at the Oval Office on Monday, arguing that gas prices will drop like a rocket once the war winds down, which is what we just watched right now. And the price of gas has steadily increased with the war. At the end of February, the average nationwide 1 gallon unleaded gasoline is roughly $4.50, according to AAA. 1 year ago was $3.14. And he continues, families need help now. This is Senator Mark Kelly, Democrat, saying families need help now. If they were to get rid of the gas tax for the federal government gas tax, that's 18 cents per gallon. So if they stopped it, it would be an 18-cent difference. So if you're paying $4.50 right now, it would be $4.32. Tom, is this meaningful? Because it's saying it would cost Trump's gas tax holiday would cost $3.5 billion a month if they were to go through with this. What are your thoughts on this?
Number one, that's nothing. In terms of government costs, 18.4 cents and 24 cents for diesel. That's a help, but it's a small help. You know what I would do if I was the president? I would call on him and said, Mr. President, for all carriers that carry products to end market, not moving vans, but for all of I'll suppose the moving vans would help all the Californians leaving California, but for all of the carriers of product, I will give you a tax credit equal to $1 per gallon of diesel you use in the second half of this year. And I'll just give you that tax credit. Very simple. How many gallons of diesel did you buy for all your trucks carrying fruit, oranges, furniture, dry goods, flour, wheat, corn, all of that you transporting? You're paying $5.50 a gallon. I'll make it $1.50. I'll give you $1.50 a gallon tax credit. Take it off the tax at the end of the year. And now you've got $4 diesel to everything. You know what happens to the pressure on prices? Pressure on prices immediately come down. These are the things that he has in his executive order pen. And Bessent is there at Treasury. Scott, come in here a second. Let's do a tax credit second half of the year for all the diesel producers. $1.50 a gallon. Take it from $5.50 to $4 right now. What do you say? Simple. Now you don't have to worry about industry by industry. If you're carrying products to market and that cost was being carried on to consumer, let's bring the cost down. And then, maybe go ahead and do the gas tax of 18 and 24 cents. But you could so quickly hit the energy cost in the core. And this is why I'm not in Washington. I think it's too easy.
Brandon.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and I think that, you got half the country that lives off less than $500 a month or doesn't have $500 spent on an emergency. So I imagine what that number went to when gas went from $2.50 to $4.50. So yeah, I don't think 18 cents is going to make a real dent. And I wish he would bring a panel of people like Tom and economic advisors to do creative ideas that are innovative, that could bring the price down, like whether there's subsidies here and there. I mean, if we run a deficit of $2 trillion a year, I'm sure you could find a way to temporarily subsidize the market, because that really is the biggest threat to our leverage over Iran is the sentiment of the population of the U.S. with their tolerance of the gas prices, because we are already in a delicate situation with economic stability with the middle class. So I think that's his biggest threat. So it's more of a threat than Iran.
Brad Lea.
I think the longer you push something off, the worse it gets. Sometimes people just have to pull up their pants and tighten their belts and deal with it.
You talking about gas prices?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't have everything you want. It's like, we got to get these prices down for some of these people that don't have money. Well, again, then tap into our own reserves. And then someone says, well, we can't because of this reason. Dude, we can do anything. We're just not.
Yeah.
It's not that, like Tom, send him to Washington, shit would be fixed instantly. The problem is it wouldn't. He'd be killed or he would be kicked out. Because I don't know if they want it fixed.
Probably in that order. Kill me first, and then they say, then kick me out, just to be sure.
But does that make me a conspiracy guy? Because I just don't think whoever they is, wants it actually fixed. Because these are not hard problems to solve, but they're not solved, and they haven't been solved for years, 50 years. So why is the question? And the reason is because I think they don't want it
Let
fixed.
me ask you a question. Right now, today, how many, if I was to go through your project list of projects that are 8 or higher importance, how many 8 or higher projects do you have on your list today? Tom, what's yours? What's yours?
6.
6, Tom?
You and I talked the other night. I probably have about 4 of them.
4 of them?
Yep.
How many do we have as a company? Did you say
right now
as a company? You have 5? What do you think we have as a company? 8 or higher?
I think right now we probably have 12 projects that are 8 or higher, big time, from recruitment of people to certain traction to certain product development. It's because we're growing fast and we're driving.
Right. Okay. So how many do you think he has?
Trump?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
8 or higher. How many do you think he has?
Easily 25. So
you think it's 25?
Yeah, I think he's
8 or higher.
I would say, yeah. Well, how many should he have is the question.
Well, no. How many do you think he has for his position to say 8 or higher?
I'm like an 8, like a 10 is Iran with nuclear weapons.
For sure. So that's what I'm saying. 8 or higher.
You're way up there. I think there's 25 that are up there. There's
think it's
probably
25?
another 100 that are 7.5.
Okay. So let's just say 100 plus for 7.5. You know how many that is? It's a lot. So then you have to sit there and think about which one of them, the Pareto theory, 80-20. Everybody wants to fix everything. By the way, I found this clip, Rob. I want to send it to you. I just literally saw it today from the interview we had with the president. It's very interesting what he says about Iran. And I don't know if I texted it to you. I don't know if it's in our notes, Rob. If it's not, I'll just send it to you. And this was in our discussion we had with Iran. Some person reposted it. I just want to show you this on what he said about Iran. And this was shared. Rob, I just sent it to you if you want to check your text. So look how he answered this. Look how he answered this. Because he specifically says to you, this interview is, last week of October. And then right after the interview we completed, he went on Rogan. It was literally these two last interviews that he did was me and Rogan. And I asked him this question about Iran. Look at the way he answers it. Okay, go ahead, Rob.
Running around.
What's going to happen to Iran with you by the end of your administration?
I'm not asking
I
would like to see Iran be very successful. The only thing is they can't have a nuclear weapon.
Are you okay with the same administration and way of governing stays, or would you like to see it go back to the 70s when Shah's was running it and Iran was one of the top 3 countries in tourism?
We can't get totally involved in all. We can't run ourselves. Let's face it.
Sure.
Patrick, we can't run ourselves.
You put sanctions, that's going to, they don't have, the people are going to turn and flip on them. It's not going to be a... Okay, so you see that conversation that we had. What does he say?
America first.
America first. We can't run. So, but he still said what? The position that hasn't changed. They can't have nukes. Can't have nukes, but he says we can't run them. So you notice in his wording there, he's not talking about regime collapse or regime change, right?
Yeah.
This takes me back to what you said. I assume they have so many projects every single day. If I'm the president and every president has a Tom in their lives, if not 5 or 10 Toms when you're the president. He probably has 50 Toms, right? These are minds that are coming and saying, look at this, look at this, look at that.
Yeah.
And the hard thing right now, even with our company, we have different executives. And people will come and say what we need to do. But they're not all saying the same thing. What is the right thing for us to do today, right? So then my choice is to take the intel from Tom, take the intel from Paul, take the intel from different guys that we have, RJ, all these other guys that are saying, here's what we should be doing. And then say, okay, I'm going to go with Tom. Or you know what, Tom, I like the idea, but let's postpone it for 6 more months. I'm going to go with what Paul is saying. But to each of them, they're all smart guys.
Yeah.
It's we all think we're smart and our idea is the best idea because we know what's best for everybody, right? But guess what we don't have? We don't have all the what? We don't have all the intel. And we don't have the sequencing that they're dealing with. And specifically, the weight of the sequencing lies on who? On the leader.
Yeah.
And he has to decide which problems do we want to solve now. And one of the hardest things about solving problems is you will never, ever hit 100% of the problems that everybody thinks is the most important. You will never be able to hit it. You were always, if you think about leadership, you're 100% of the time not going to please 100% of the people. That is an out. So because he won the election, not everybody else won the election. One guy won the election, which is who? Him. He's the one that gets to say, at this point, I think this is what's most important. At that point, I think this is what's most important. And you'll listen to everybody, listen to the market, and see what you do next. I will tell you, if this affordability goes like this longer, this is a bigger deal than they're thinking. Tom said it's a very, very important thing about 15 minutes ago. When we looked at what farmers are dealing with today and the price of fertilizer that's coming from Strait of Hormuz, the price of fertilizer has gone up. And so the margins for these farmers have gone from 5 to 10%. These guys barely make any money to now they're going in the negative 5 to 10%. Farmers don't make money. The bigger farmers are going to buy them out. They're going to knock them out. And then you and I are going to feel the prices when? Not today. You're going to feel the prices when? 12 months from now. 18 months from now, 6 months from now. This is a 2027 problem already. So how do you address that? So these are things that, he has to, and when you say stock market, Wall Street is not Main Street. There's a big difference between Wall Street and Main Street. Like, I'm doing great financially, but I'm Wall Street. Main Street is not doing great. Main Street is trying to get married. Matter of fact, let me go to this next story here, and we'll talk about Gen Zs, what they're doing with their careers right now. When I look at Gen Z, okay, the rise of income stacking, why Gen Z is juggling multiple jobs, okay? And the story right next to it is a changing job market leans against men. What does that mean? What do you mean leans against men? Wait till you see this data, Rob. I don't know if you have it or not. Okay, you have it. Fantastic. Watch this here. Let me read both of them on what men, Gen Z men in America, are dealing with today. First story that we have. Okay. Tamika Gomillion is working 2 jobs, an usher at an event space and a receptionist at the student center while finishing her computer engineering studies at the University of District of Columbia. The 35-year-old said she's juggling multiple jobs out of financial necessity, and with the rising living expenses, she expects to maintain several jobs. Even after she lands a job on her career track, one job would be easier, but I know if I have another, that's a check I can either put on the side or could just be my play money. Multiple jobs. Gamillion is among rising number of Americans who are income stacking or taking on multiple jobs to build financial security. After dropping during COVID, the share of people working more than one job has increased over the past few years. Government data shows in April, nearly 8.4 million U.S. adults, or about 5.2% of the workforce, were working multiple jobs, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's important context to look back and see that actually around COVID, that number plummeted from pre-COVID era to historical because you gave them free money. Like, you know, that's the part that they don't say. You send UBI, you send money to them that they weren't dealing with. Now watch this. This goes to the next one, which is a change in job market leaning against men. Rob, if you want to pull up that report, the data that you had, this one right here, if you can go a little bit lower to the chart, Rob, look at this chart. Cumulative change in non-farm jobs since December of 2024. Okay, that's the plus minus for men and women. And it's 400,000 more jobs by women and jobs for men decreased. Now, why is this happening? If there's one chart that we look at, Rob, is college degrees for women versus men. And I don't know if it's in the same chart or not. Let me see that one right there. Employment as a share of population, 1950s, 85% men to 30% women. And then bring it to COVID. Forget about COVID, so make the drop with COVID, and then go to today. 55% is where they're at, and 65%, this is according to the Labor Department. We're getting fewer and fewer jobs for men and more jobs for women, that it's kind of flipping. And when you're looking at this, Tom, I saw data today that Gen Z men, 62% of Gen Z men ages 14 to 29 is Gen Z. So go 18 and up to adults. Like, you know, adults, Gen Z. 62% of them have taken themselves out of the dating market. They're not even looking.
62?
62%. You know what it was in 2019?
What?
51%. So it's gone from 51% to 62%. Now, what do you think it is for women, Gen Z women? It's 34%. That means 66 are looking. But men are like, we're out. You know what the average date is today that Gen Z pays for dinner when they take a girl out?
What?
$205. For millennials, it's $259. The average in America is $189. You want a Gen Z to take a girl out for $205? Like, what's $205 after tax money? That's $250, $300 pre-tax money. So think about what they're dealing with today. And we need these guys to be willing to get married, to be willing to have kids, to be willing to date. So it's a little bit of an issue. Brad, I'll come to you first. What are you thinking when you're seeing these numbers with young men and specifically Jay-Z working multiple jobs and being in the dating scene?
I see it as a positive sign. It means, you know, the entitlement's going away. These Gen Z guys, you're assuming that they're paying for dinner, first of all. Second of all, I see more women getting jobs because I think less men are you know, taking that masculine position. So I see it as a positive that they're doing it, only because it shows me that the entitlement is starting to fade. You've heard the whole tough times make, you know, strong men make good times make weak men. I think that cycle continues, and I think that's a sign that we're starting to.
What cycle are we in? Weak men?
We're just coming out of weak men. Weak men cause bad times.
And then bad times create strong men, and then we're back at it again.
That's a sign of stronger men coming.
So are you saying Gen Z are weak men?
Yes.
You are saying that?
I think they're entitled. And not only that, it's like, you know, that's why more women are probably getting jobs. They have to. The men aren't stepping up or weren't stepping up. I think they're starting to.
Interesting. Interesting. Brent, do you agree with them?
I don't think it's a good thing for society, because I would say, what do you think it's better if our society's having more or less kids with people who are married together?
What I would think it's better for more kids.
Right. Yeah. So this is drastically reducing the amount of kids that are being born, because, you know, since really got off the gold standard. Cost of living skyrockets, 2 people off to work. You see that chart, it skyrockets in the 70s when women start entering the workforce, and then the state is raising your kids instead of the mother at home or the parents at all. So it's collectively like having a bad effect on the nuclear family, the amount of kids you could have. So in that regard, the government spending more money than it should is causing this problem. And yeah, sure, some of it's just the trend that's going with, there's more jobs that are, I guess, built for women, like they're like administrative jobs like in an office. But regardless, I would say that the best investment you can make is into yourself and like make yourself as valuable as possible. Like there is going to be less people who have like a high standard of living these days than there was back in the day. Like back in the day, you could have like a normal job and have a good standard of living. Today, you kind of have to be a little bit more exceptional to have a good standard of living. But I think not everybody's going to embrace that, but you should embrace as much as you can. You should make yourself as valuable as you can. That's how you overcome this, and that's the attitude I took.
But it's easier to make money now. It's easier to make money than it used to be. You got the internet, you got social media. It's so easy to make money, it's ridiculous.
Right, and it's not giving you like if just doing it the way everybody else does, it's going to put you in a bad position. But before you could get away with that, so yeah, like now it's easier to do what you're saying with that, but less people are going to do it.
Yeah. So when I see women getting most of the new jobs, well, that's I believe just indicative of that's because they need to. Like if you're not going to take care of a woman, then they're going to take care of themselves.
Rob, can you pull up that degree chart of women versus men? Look at this here. Also, you just had it up a minute ago? Okay, there you go. Share of population ages 25 to 54 with a bachelor's degree. Okay, Rob, blue is women, black is men.
Look when
not black men. It's just black is representing men. So if you look at that chart, in 1960s, look at the numbers. Okay, women 7%, men say 13, 14%. And then when did it flip? 2002, 2003. And then now, 47% women, 38% men. Some may even say there's a reason why women are being brainwashed, and they are where they are because they're around people that hate capitalism, hate all that stuff, and they're bashing it. But at the same time, for a job, getting a bachelor's degree, that's heading in a different direction. Tom, where are you at with this?
So I got two comments here. First of all, the online world allows people to immerse themselves and not have to go outside. You used to go out to places and you would meet people. I don't mean spending money on the clubs and trying to get behind the velvet rope and all that crap. I mean, you used to go out to the college football game and you would meet people. Your fraternity, you would go hang out with girls from the sorority. You would go meet people. And a combination of video games and the internet, it is a fact, has pulled men inside and made weak men that are incapable of having discussions and outside in public, scared to walk up to talk to a girl, and they're immersed in video games and the online world, and now OnlyFans, where this seemingly perfect AI-generated model, and now we're finding out that a quarter of the AI models right now are generated. Oh, my daughter never goes into AI. No, she doesn't. She got a computer science degree and made 2 people that are making more money than she would too, doing things there. You have all of this mess there. So the men are there. Then you are having a surge right now. We're having a demographic surge where the number of new jobs have been over-indexing in healthcare for 5 years. Why? Now, when I mean healthcare, nursing services, aging services, home helpers, task rabbits, all those things going there because the boomers are retiring and they got the money to pay for all these services. So, and those are overwhelmingly female jobs. So now you have that wave going on. But on the other side, I see bright lights. Right now, do you know what percent of businesses fail in the first year right now? 2026 stats, Q1. It'll shock you, 22%.
Okay.
You know what that was 20 years ago?
80.
50, but yes, it was 50%. You go back to the late 80s, it was 80%. Guess what you have now? More research. AI gives you more certainty, more options. Wait, Instagram, this will do, so I'll make something on Instagram, and you follow other people's lead. You have an interesting product, and it makes it. Your side hustle makes it. So you have an 80% chance of first-year survival for businesses now, which is a huge change. So for me, that is what they're taking advantage of because my fourth wave is it's so expensive for housing, they feel like they have to stack it. But now they're able to do it. We now have 10 million people in America with 2 jobs. 55% of them are full-time, part-time. 30% of them are part-time, And 15% of them are actually full-time. People are figuring out a way to work 80, 90 hours a week with 2 full-time jobs. And by the way, this is just the W-2 employment that FRED, Federal Reserve Economic Data out of St. Louis.
Imagine what it is for 1099.
Right. This is only the stuff we can count.
Yeah.
Imagine everything
Tom, let me ask you this.
Sorry to get preachy here, Pat.
Tom, question for you. Bailey goes on a date with a guy. What do you tell her about the bill?
Well, there's no room in her purse for money because she has a 9mm. So it's like,
well, what do you tell her? What do you tell her for?
Oh, you mean, no, what do I tell her?
Yeah, like advice. Dad, should he pay the whole thing?
No, I tell her, don't create the realm of expectation and reciprocity because that lives. You know, hey, I paid for dinner. You know, we're going to hook up. What are we going to do here? First of all, I teach her to reason and resist, to stay away from people the men that think that way.
But simplify for me. Do you tell her that she needs to expect for men to take the 100% of the bill?
No, I tell her, I say, listen, owe nothing to anybody. Have no expectation.
So if she goes to dinner with her guy, do they split the bill?
I want her to split the bill. I want him to have any expectation.
Okay, so where are you at with that? You're the one that takes care of everybody's bills, because I've seen that video. You'll take care of the girls, their husbands, their friends, all that stuff. But imagine if you got a 23-year-old son. What do you tell him?
A son?
Yeah.
You pay the bill.
You pay the bill.
I'd rather ask about the daughter.
What do you do with the daughter?
Yeah. My daughter, I'll give her all the money that she needs to pay any bill that she might encounter, and I want her to pay it very quickly if the gentleman doesn't do it, and then come home, because that guy is no longer an option. Like,
got it.
She can pay the bill, but that should be the last time she goes out with that guy.
Bingo, thank you.
Okay, so that's a fairly simple way of looking at it, right? But your expectation is he should take the bill.
100%. Men should protect and provide for women and children. Period. There's no other conversation to have.
Yeah,
that's why we're here.
You asked me about dates. If things become serious, I expect him to be gallant. I expect him to be serious. I expect him to provide.
Yeah.
So as things get serious and go over a certain line, my expectation changes. But just casual, maybe we'll grab lunch, maybe we're investigating each other, I'm with you 100%. I don't want her cornered, and I don't want her to be, you know what I'm talking about, the expectations.
You know, it's yesterday we were having a conversation. We shot a video specifically about this on how the dating scene is. And you know what I told him? I said, look, everybody has a different reason why you're attractive and girls come to you. So there is too much. If you don't have a way to create you being attractive, you know, that's on you. And by the way, it's not just looks. Like, when I'm not telling you go grab a hammer and start hitting your face. But that's one way. But that's physical. That's looks. Some it's body. Some it's money. Some it's the family you're a part of. Some it's connections. Some it's your leader. Some it's you're smart. Like, imagine Tom with his intellect. How do you think Tom flirted with girls? When I think about Tom, I've seen Tom, and he's actually very good.
Yeah.
Because Tom uses his sense of humor. Tom's funny and self-deprecating in a very funny way, but then he's firm as well. So Tom's got an element of, even Tom, that you may be like, well, Tom, yeah. But he learned his game in a different way, right? Now, Brad Lea, on the other hand, he just keeps his mouth shut. He shows up and they're like, damn, right?
But he's got that Barry White voice.
That's right. So, but the point is, what is your leverage? What is the thing that you're creating in a marketplace where they're coming to you? And then if you're just playing this game to want to hook up and have fun and all, well, let's just go swipe right and do your thing. But if you're looking for a wife and somebody to be your wife, a girl to have kids with and all that stuff, you may also have to be looking at different places to get a better qualified market to get into. The data shows it on what people used to meet girls in the 30s versus today. In the 30s, it was all family, friends, and work. Today, it's 65, 70% is dating online is where they're seeing. But you know what is the highest rate of marriage working out? Is if you met your wife through work or through friends and family. Yeah. Highest percentage of working out. Because if you say you work at a company and you're here for 7 years, 7 years later, how many girls have come and gone? Well, a lot. Yeah. But imagine if there's these 4 girls that you've been watching and they're still here. You know their dating history. You know how they handle themselves during good, bad times. You already have history with this person. Right. So it's no longer, hey, what do you know about this girl in Miami, right? So now you know if you're dating, you kind of have an idea about each other. So it's also, where do you look to find somebody in the relationship style? Let me get to the next story.
What a great point you made there. Think about family, friends and family, true filtering. And think about online dating, marketing.
Yeah, there is no filtering in online dating.
Well, there's also a lot of transparency digitally. So before you wouldn't know her body count. Now you can find it, and that might ruin a relationship as well.
If you get in the business of body count, I think 80% of marriages wouldn't work out overnight. It's like, wait, I thought you said you only had 2 boyfriends. What is this, 28? Well, babe, that's not true. But this says 28. You went on a run one time in 2002. No, I would never do that. Well, why? Can you imagine? That technology comes out, some shit's going to happen, by the way. Divorce rate's going to go to the roof.
You see celebrities. I mean, Lewis Hamilton just bought a used car. Apparently didn't care about the mileage.
Yeah. So. And by the way, the same's going to happen the other way around. The girl's like, I thought you said you've been with 32 girls. It said only 2. Was that your second?
No, that's just...
Imagine.
And you're a rock star. No, that was last summer's tour.
All right, let's get to the next story here. Next story I want to get to is more sellers than buyers. Let's talk about real estate. So here's a story that came out about there's more sellers selling homes than buyers. And this is a scary thought. So home sellers outnumbers buyers by 630,000 in a record gap, according to Redfin. Rob, if you want to pull this up, I think it's on page 20. I don't think you have a video on this or anything. So let me kind of go through the stats, and then I'm going to come to you guys with this. So the U.S. housing market has shifted decisively in favor of buyers with a record 630,000 more home sellers than buyers in February. The imbalance of 46.3% more sellers than buyers marks the widest gap since the company began tracking it in 2013, up sharply from 29.8% a year earlier. Redfin classifies any market with more than 10% excess sellers as a buyer's market, a threshold the nation has exceeded since May of 2024. We're seeing a lot more inventory on the market compared to the last 2 years because the mortgage rates lock-in effect is easing, and there is a lot of new construction, says Justin Gomez from Redfin Premier Real Estate Agent in Omaha, Nebraska. 2 years ago, people were offering $15,000 over the asking price, just got a home, with multiple offers everywhere. The surplus of sellers gives buyers who can afford today's price significant negotiating power. Housing costs, the high housing costs and economic uncertainty have pushed many would-be purchasers to the sidelines, shrinking the buyer pool. The number of home buyers fell 2.4% in February. So, Tom, when you're looking at numbers like this, and it says the imbalance in different markets, meaning Miami led the nation with 163% more sellers than buyers, followed by Nashville, 120% more sellers than buyers. Austin at 112, Palm Beach at 110, San Antonio at 104. What do you think is causing this? Is it just interest rates?
No. It's interest rates and savings. Right now, the savings rate used to be 8-9%. Personal savings rate has gone down under 5% right now. So people are saving less on a monthly basis, which means they're saving less for a down payment, number one. And number two, when I saw the number on a national basis, I believe homeowners insurance on a national basis, and Rob, fact check me on this. I'm going to say a number here, but we need to find it. I thought it was 22% increase in homeowners insurance on a national basis since 2022. So 4 years, your homeowner's insurance comes up. Well, wait a minute. That's a hidden cost of buying a house. Now the homeowner's insurance is more, and Rose and average, there it is, 21%. No, that was just that year alone. So it's huge. That's a hidden cost. So the interest rate affects your payment, Pat, but then your homeowner's insurance is also up, and the overall cost of the house was up, so that the number of homes that are available for your first-time buyers and mid-tier buyers is actually even lower and worse than this chart. Because to find a mid-tier home in Core City, you can't. And if you take a look what's being sold in Miami, where there's more sellers than buyers, go take a look at what's actually being sold. Look at the number of $1 million condos. Kid coming out of 30-year-old kid just gets married. He and his wife have a college degree and good jobs. They can't buy $1 million condo in Miami and pay the HOA, which will be $1,000 a month or more. So there's a lot of things going into it. It's not just the interest rates, Pat. It's the replacement cost of the house driving the homeowner's insurance, and then it's the property tax because it's a higher priced home in the first place. Because if you look back at those lines, Rob, go back, scroll back down, when red's over blue, prices are going up. When blue's
You're overpaying for everything.
And so what happened in 2021 to 2023? We were coming out of COVID. We can come out to play. And those lines drove the price of the homes way up. And those prices have not come down. They've come down a little bit, like Austin, Texas, it came down. But Austin, Texas had emergency building permits, and they overbuilt. Go take a look at the inventory in Austin. Rents are now moderated, and the number of homes are there. Guess what? Oh my gosh, we had a problem. We had a solution. Brad, you build homes. What could I do? I need permits faster, and I need labor. Okay, we'll help you with the permits faster. So Brad works for Lanier, gets another 1,000 homes built around affordable areas of Austin. Now that's inventory, supply. All of a sudden, the prices moderate a little bit, and everybody can find a home. Now we just need jobs. Oh, SpaceX. Elon puts things here. Dell expands. Austin has got its issues, but it's an example of where things moderate back and forth, Pat. And people can say in the comments, I'm in Austin. It's not what you say. It's better. It's better than other places. So if you're in Austin and you're still having a tough time, God bless you, I understand. But when you compare what you're facing to other areas, Austin's getting supply back in the market.
Brandon, thoughts?
Yeah, so I sent you a chart, Rob. And it's interesting this chart doesn't go back to 2008 because I wonder what the gap would have looked like then. But part of that problem was the bond side of it, where people couldn't pay for the mortgages. But
it was artificial supply of buyers drove price because they were able to get Nina loans.
Right.
So you had more buyers because you were giving easy qualification.
Mm-hmm. And then a ton of houses just hit the market suddenly when they had to foreclose on them. But this makes me wonder if prices will ever substantially go down again without a crisis. I mean, because they're covering it as if there's this huge gap between sellers and buyers, but it's not even making a dent in the price. But what did make a dent in the price was dropping rates to zero and injecting a couple $1 trillion in the economy. I mean, if you look at this, it went from 370 on average to about 516 in just 5 years. So, I mean, that's
and hasn't come down.
Yeah, it's not coming down at all. And this is if it's not now, when is it going to be?
So here's the thing: is this story making you, if you're recommending Brad Lea to a young man who has money to buy, should you buy or should you wait?
Say that once again.
If you're a young man, you're 30 years old, and you have some money to buy a house, okay, you can buy a $500,000 house today. Should you buy or should you wait?
Hard question. I would personally tell him to wait, only because I do believe those prices have to be coming down. Because, again, if there's so many sellers, the price is supposed to drop, but they're not. So why is that? Well, then I would just wait for that purpose. But it's also less desirable to own nowadays. The younger people, they understand freedom. They understand, anchors. And a home is an anchor, There's more sellers than buyers. Right? Everybody wants to sell their home. What for? Well, what are they going to buy when they do? And if there's not enough buyers to sell your home, you're stuck, aren't you?
And you had a low rate. So do you want to give up the low interest rate? Do you want to give that up? Who knows? And you got to keep going. And you know what the and is? Is the following. Is where are people moving to today? Red or blue states?
Red.
And have we seen these numbers, what it looks like? It's astronomical that they're moving to red states over blue states. You think that's going to slow down anytime soon?
No.
So if it's not going to, and by the way, what types of people are moving to red states? Those that just want government entitlement programs, or those that are coming with income and money and can afford to overpay?
With capital that's getting taxed and chased.
So, read those cities again. Those are all
Miami. Certain markets. So then the Palm Beach. So then your question becomes the following. Do you want to compete against the guys that are coming here from New York, Illinois, D.C., all these places? Do you want to? Because they're coming here saying, wait, I'm going to buy property. In New York, I would pay this much. For Fort Lauderdale, I'm going to pay this much. I'll pay $30,000 more. I'll pay $20,000 more. I'll pay $40,000 more. I'll pay $80,000 more.
Yeah.
Because it's still less than what they're accustomed to.
No, this has changed. So I was from the mindset of last year, oh, it's too expensive right now. It should come down 10% at least. But now seeing this, because Miami's one of the worst cases of there being a gap between sellers and buyers. So now I'm all right, fine. I'm going to do it now if it's still not coming down.
But the part of it where you're screwed is the following. You're in the state that everybody wants to move to.
Right.
You're in that state.
So it's get in now if it's not going down yet.
Yeah, this is not a state where, so what is the likelihood, Tom, that the next governor of Florida is going to be a Republican? What's the likelihood?
I think
is it at 55%, 60%?
60. I think.
No. I'm at 80, 85%.
So Byron Donalds is going to be the next governor to state of Florida.
Yeah, not getting support from DeSantis. Another topic for another day, but Byron's got a head of steam and a lot of money.
So if you got a guy like that, that's next. So that means this state stays blue for stays red for another 2 terms.
Mm-hmm.
This is not going to slow down.
Yeah.
They're going to keep coming. And in the interim, let's look at Mamdani, what Mamdani is doing in New York. You want to see this one here, folks? This is entertaining to say the least. Okay, so let me read this to you. Let me find a page. Here we are. Watch this here. Very, very interesting on what's going on with this. Okay, so Mamdani comes out and says, guess what? We've officially balanced the budget. And all the socialists are like, dude, the guy is crushing it. What a freaking rock star. And then is this the video talking about he balanced the budget?
Yep.
Go ahead, Rob.
New York, it's executive budget season. And I'm proud to announce that our city's budget is fully balanced. This budget isn't just about numbers on a page. It determines if our libraries get funded, if a street is safe to cross, if snow is actually shoveled after a storm. And you deserve to know exactly how we got here. We inherited a $12 billion budget deficit.
We are speaking about a fiscal crisis at the scale greater than the Great Recession.
Was the Great Recession? Great Recession. Many said the only way out of this was slashing services and passing an austerity budget. We rejected that. After months of painstaking work, that deficit is now zero.
So good.
Our city is now on firm financial ground. We achieved this in 2 major ways: increasing revenue and support from Albany and cutting waste and finding savings here in New York City. Thanks to Governor Hochul, State Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins, Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie, and months of organizing from New Yorkers, we tax the rich. That tax alone will raise $500 million per year. And that's not all. Thanks to Governor Hochul and our partners in Albany, we finally got a better deal for New York City. We're getting billions more from the state to help tackle the gap.
You can pause it right there. You know how much they got? They got $4 billion. So, Tom.
Per year.
Per year. So, Tom, yeah, $8 billion last 2 years. So when people are looking at this, they're like, okay, you know, how good of a spin job can you do to sell it as if everything is going right? What is he not telling in these clips, Tom?
Well, he's not telling you how. He's saying, we got help from Kathy Hochul, and we think it's important to shovel snow. It's a no. I want to see him go to the board and say, this is how we balanced it. Because, number one, he had a surplus from Eric Adams, who you know, Pat, and has spoken to us. So we're not out of school here. We had direct conversation with Eric Adams. We know about the surplus that was brought in. Then he gets money from Albany. Guess what? That's not balancing the budget. That's Brad and my daughter our daughters call us from college, and she's spending $500 more a month. I agree to give her $400 more a month. Brad gives his daughter $400 more a month, and then she meets a nicer guy, and he starts paying for dinner. They didn't balance the budget. They just moved things around, and other people helped. That's what's going on. And then this guy here, I quoted this study, and then this guy comes to the microphone 2 days later about education in New York is not getting any results. So he didn't tell people how and what he did. He leaves out the fact that supposedly, what was the gap from Eric Adams? The exact number, 3.6? Rob, tell me what that gap was. Because if he gets $12 billion, and he claims
that was 469. I don't know why I think 3.6 could have been 3.
That's what I'm saying. Please fact check me what I'm remembering. What Eric Adams left him. Eric Adams left him $5 billion.
Yeah, I thought it was 469.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 5 and 4 from the state is 9, which means what did he cut and what did he change? And then he got $500 million from. So let's do it. 5 and 4 is 9. $500 million from the millionaire tax is 9.5. And so $12 billion deficit, he only had to find $2.5 billion. What sleight of hand did he do with pensions? I want to know. What did he do with certain services? He's quoting that we have all these services. Where's the rest of it? I want to see it because it shows that they actually did nothing. What percent is 9.5 on 12?
He says he taxed the rich.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
9.5 on 12 is what percent?
75%.
75% came from somebody else.
Yeah.
He didn't do it. So, Mr. I'm the great mayor and doing all this. This is sleight of hand. I'm just getting upset.
Brandon.
With all that aside, I'm most mad about how long it must have taken him to do that video because, I mean, like he has different cuts and everything. I mean, do you think it took him a couple hours to do that? Because he's firing these off like every day, like a fully edited TikTok.
For sure, it took him a couple hours.
Yeah. So I mean, like that pisses me off.
It's a great video.
It is, and he's doing all the cuts the right way where he'll do well on TikTok. So yeah, he is good. He's even better than Newsom with the spin job. But I mean, all the states, like they run the state the same way that the United States runs the country. You know, like they spend money on things they shouldn't spend it on, like the migrant situation. They have to do police overtime because there's so much crime, so they have to spend extra money on that. The healthcare situation, like that's more expensive than it should be. So I mean, think about how much money New York generates. Like just the city alone generates like 60% of the state's entire GDP. So I mean, just the fact that they don't have enough money for what they need to do shows that they're not managing it the right way. And I mean, you should have certain requirements to run a state.
So this the part when I sit there and I think about, by the way, did he do the free buses? Did he do some of these programs that he talked about?
I haven't heard.
Nobody knows,
no.
right? It's been kind of quiet on some of the programs that he was talking about. But if you want to go back to that clip, Rob, of that right there to the left, right there, watch what the cost is right now per kid that goes to school. If New York State just decided to give the money, of New York City, if they just decided to give the money to the parents, you know how much money would go back to the parents? This is how much education costs in New York right now. Go ahead, Rob.
New York City
Watch
spends
this.
roughly $37 billion a year to educate about 850,000 kids. That's over $42,000 per child per year. And the results are abysmal. 2/3 of fourth graders can't do math properly, and almost 3/4 can't read at grade level. You don't have to be an expert in fractions to know that is bad. Let's agree that the political reality is we cannot reduce the amount of public education spending at all. Fine. What can we do, Mr. Mayor, is tell every mom in New York City that the $42,000 currently spent on that terrible education is going to be her money. Here comes some more advanced mathematics, some more long division. We are going to give her half, 21,000. That's 42,000 divided by 2. Every year she will receive that as a voucher for her child to attend whatever school she wants. We are going to take the other 21,000, put it in a real account, not a fictional Social Security account, for which her child is the sole beneficiary. If it returns a paltry 2% over the next 13 years, that child will graduate high school with $300,000, enough for college, trade school, or a down payment.
You can pause it right there. So money going to the family instead of the money going to the government. Where would you rather go?
Family.
Think about that. So he's asking a very honest question, $42K a year per child per year. Why not just give it to the parents and let them decide what private school they want to put them into? Why not change it? I think he continues to go into vouchers and different structure on how to do it. That was his solution. Tom, I think you were about to say something.
I just found it in plain sight. Right? I agree with this.
He delayed the pension plan. Did you see that? He delayed it for 2 years.
$2 billion. So in other words, Eric Adams, 5, Albany, 4, 9, wealth tax, 0.5, 9.5, $2 billion on the pensions, delays funding. That's $11.5 billion.
Did you understand what I mean by the pension? He delayed the pension for 5 years or 3 years to be able to say, hey, we don't have to put this now.
Yeah.
But you know why I love this? Let me tell you why I love this. 2 things. One, you're screwed if you don't buy a house now. Because they're leaving.
Right.
Okay, so the young guys that are sitting there saying, well, I'm still going to wait, they're going to leave. And do you know why I love that they're saying this thing now, that 2026 they balance the budget? You know why I love that this is a manipulation that he's using right now? How long can he use this gimmick? What's going to happen next year when he has to balance the budget? What gimmicks can he use next year?
It's going to get more difficult.
He doesn't have 5 from Eric Adams. That's the big one.
So I love this. Because go a year from now when he has to do this. What month and year are we in? A year from now. It's May of 27. What starts in May of 27? People announcing that they're running for president 2028. Okay? That's the date, just so you know that. It happens between March, April to June. And I think the president announced he's running for president June 13, June 14, right around his birthday, the first time he announced he's running. So next year when everybody's announcing that they're running, he has to give his budget next year this month. And AOC is probably running, and the people that they're going to compare AOC to is who? To him. And they're going to say similar policies Is that how you want someone to run America? So this hurts the socialist candidates in 2027 when they announce they're running. Brad Lea.
You know, I don't really have a strong opinion
on this one.
On this one, because again, when you're spending $42,000 per child and the results are terrible, it just screams to me that there's some sort of corruption going on. I don't trust politicians. I don't trust this guy. So I think it'd be best if I reserve my opinion. $42,000 for a kid, they should be coming out of school with a SaaS company.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where's that money going? You think it's education? No. Let's check out the vendors. Let's go look at. Let's start auditing where that money's going. Is there some daycares happening? What's going on with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and by the way, you know what the budget is for New York City? Rob, can you type in New York City's budget, annual budget? You know what the number is?
The city? Oh, man.
It's $120-some billion.
Yeah.
Look at that. $124.7 billion is the budget that they have. $124.7 billion. They're doing everything in New York City with that number, okay? So it's pretty wild. But again, for simple, this answers a few different questions. People who leave New York City will be coming to places like this.
Yeah.
And they'll be going to places like Tennessee. And whatever's going to happen, like right now, one guy just bought a house in our community. You know where he's moving here from? Canada, okay? Very successful business guy, one of our clients. We helped him out. Everybody was involved in helping get this property. And if you walk around the community, you're seeing people from Canada, New York, D.C., Chicago, all over the place that they're moving down here. And it's not slowing down anytime soon. All right, let's get to the next story. Next story I'm going to get to is this lady who is giving this graduation speech, and she's thinking she's going to crush it. And she makes one comment, and then all of a sudden, boos come out of nowhere. And then she had to find a way to recover from it. Go ahead, Rob. Watch this, folks.
The rise of artificial intelligence is the next industrial revolution.
Did you see? She's looking back for help.
Okay, I struck a chord. May I finish?
Look at her. She's nervous.
Only a few years ago,
You can pause it right there,
AI
Rob.
was
Tom, why do you think the kids graduating, what university is this, Rob? What university is this?
University of Central Florida, UCF.
So UCF, why do you think the reaction was so negative?
Because these kids are looking for a lot of entry-level jobs, and the entry-level white-collar jobs, you know, if you don't have AI skills, you have to walk in and demonstrate, hey, I can be that analyst, but I'm also very proficient in AI like this. So I can be an analyst that does this, this, and this. And the perception that all these kids are hearing from the news media is that AI is stealing jobs, AI is doing this. And her reaction is what happens when a policy wonk does a commencement speech for people who are graduating with degrees and want to go out and find employment, and she gets booed and she gets nervous because policy wonks that present white papers and positions usually don't have to go into the public square and to work on things. It reminds me of Ghostbusters. Remember the opening? So it goes back to our generation. But you go back to the opening of Ghostbusters where they're sitting there at the university, says, I don't want to go out to the private sector. Why? The private sector's tough. They expect results, and they're eating the Chinese food out of the box. That's what it is. And so she comes in and gets booed. But these kids, Pat, they're worried about AI and all the negative headlines on AI as it affects jobs. I think what they don't see is the deeper things that are going on out there, where if you are proficient with AI, you can be the analyst that is the lion tamer, not the person that doesn't have it. But when they get all these headlines, it's in these kids' heads.
Brandon.
Yeah, no, they've been brainwashed. Like Tom said, that they're in trouble. That the AI is going to take all the jobs away, and it happened kind of rapidly too. You know, I guess depending on when you're in school and when different technological changes happen, you either get lucky or you get unlucky, depending on what you're majoring in. Sometimes the economy kind of shifts on you, and demands for certain skill sets and different jobs shifts, and sometimes it happens faster than others. And it was really like 2023 that ChatGPT came out. So imagine somebody who's a freshman that year or a sophomore that year that like chooses a certain major, and then like now they're graduating and like that thing's totally irrelevant because of that. But I don't know. I think it's a negative limiting belief for them to have a negative view on it. I think it's much more helpful than hurtful. I think that people who are saying the jobs are going to be wiped out are exaggerating it. Like we see it all the time. Things that like they say, oh, you're not going to need people to write code. Yeah, you still need people to write code. It just makes it faster. Oh, you're not going to need people to like make content. You still need people to make the content. It just makes it faster. So yeah, it's bad mindset for them to think it's a negative thing.
I saw a chart this last week that I think Connor and Humberto showed me on how, believe it or not, Gen Z trusts AI less than the older generation. And I don't know which one it was that I just looked at.
Trusts it less?
Oh, trusted less. And they know the impact of being on it. They're kind of like, hey, because it's brain atrophy, right? Your brain is no longer making the decision. You're just relying on AI to make the decisions for you. And they're realizing this is a muscle. It's getting dumber if you don't put it to use and you give the power here. So New York Times came out with a story. Gen Z is using AI, but doesn't feel great about it. A new study from Gallup found that young adults have grown less hopeful and more angry about AI. Rob, do you have the chart on this, the data on this? There's a, I don't know if it's got the data there. That could be one of them right there. Is this the one? It's going too long right there. So the percentage of respondents ages 14 to 29 who said they felt hopeful about AI declined sharply last year from down to 18% to 27%. So who's in it more? Kids are. And they're saying, hey, I'm not excited about this. There's even a certain level of animosity that they have towards this of what it's doing to their careers, okay? And there's a whole report on this that Gallup just did. I don't know if you have the Gallup report or not. 14% decline in excitement about AI since 2025. 48% Gen Z believes the risk of AI in workforce outweighs its benefits. 52% of Gen Z K through 12 students think they will need to know how to use AI in their post-secondary education, which is true. But the adoption and the concern is high. This one here, adoption has not increased. Negative sentiment has. So Gen Zers feeling about AI, strongly agree. AI intelligence makes me curious. Look at the disagree, the red.
Wow.
Anxious, okay? Angry, excited, hopeful. They're not hopeful about it.
That's crazy.
They're going a different direction. Bradley, where are you at with this?
Well, I remember when they said the internet was a fad. So I don't trust these polls either. I guess, but when it comes to these guys having an attitude about AI, I think I agree. Because if you look at it correctly from the right perspective, AI is going to make you a force multiplier. In other words, it's not going to be AI that takes you out. It's going to be someone leveraging it properly. These kids shouldn't be booing. They should be freaking out. They can make agentic AI that could make every single one of them wealthy almost overnight. Agentic AI that I think is kind of maybe it's already here. I might sound foolish to you guys who are all learned and read up on it, but my observation is AI is not going anywhere. I can't believe this is even saying AI adoption has not increased. Like, it seems to be being adopted everywhere. I was telling you, Lightspeed right now is, I would say, literally revolutionized by AI.
And it's your company. And quick headline, what does it do?
It's a training software. It's a SaaS model training software that allows people to, deliver or create, deliver, track, and measure content, regardless of what it is, usually in the realm of training. So I'm hiring more employees, not less. Like, I need people, not less. AI is causing me to massively grow, and I need new people. It's not replacing.
Are these college grads, 1 year, 2 year? What kind of people coming in?
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. So they got opportunities.
They got huge.
The wave is giving them something to surf at your company.
100%. And I think it's going to be that way in most companies. I think people are, when transformative technology comes out, there's always these little naysayers. I'm just surprised that it's the kids, because these kids should be.
Normally it's the other way around, though. Like, if you think about when Elvis came in shaking hips, kids were supportive. If you think about, when these types of internet came in, kids were all like on chat. You remember when we were kids, we were in AOL chat rooms. If you remember, like, we're about the same age. AOL chat rooms was a big thing. Oh my God, we loved it. So for it to be that now they're worried, this is a different type of a worry than what we had to experience. So I don't know the impact of it. Yesterday we're talking to a group of kids in school. It was, what do you call it, career day? Is that what they call it, career day, when somebody comes in? And so I went on career day, and I took with me Anthony, I took with me Paul Saladino, and I took with me Dan Simmons. So we're all there. Dan looks like he's ready to take somebody out because Dan's 18 Delta. They said, so I said, Dan, why don't you tell everybody what your job was? He says, I'm the guy that comes and saves you where you only have 15 minutes left to live. That's what I did for a living. You look at him. He brought you in when you walked in. I don't know if you saw the tall friend then. Yeah. Okay. So then Anthony gets up there, and Anthony says, let me tell you how I got a job at Valuetainment. Anthony's got 150,000 followers on on Instagram, does great content. And I said, why don't you share something with you? I said, how old are you? 22 years old. So what did you do? Well, I started creating content first. Everybody was making fun of me, so I paused for 2 years. Then I went back at it, and then it took off, and then he's been invited to be everywhere, and then he connects me 3 times. Eventually gets a job. He's doing an interview with us, comes down here, sits down with Humberto. Now he's full-time with us. He's been with us for a week and a half. He moved to South Florida, and now he's been invited to go to the White House to be part of the prayer by Speaker Johnson. He got invited to go to the White House. What if he doesn't create content? And then Saladino got up. He says, I was a doctor. Here's what I did. I did this. I did that. And then eventually I realized I couldn't stand being in that business because I found that the real food that we need to be taking, people are not teaching. So I decided to step away. I started creating content, and now he lives in Costa Rica, surfs every morning at 6 a.m. in Costa Rica, literally.
Wow.
And he's got a business. He's doing all this stuff, and it's taking off. I think there's many creative ways to position yourself for victory. I don't like the mindset of being worried, afraid, and staying there constantly instead of trying to find a way to be a differentiator. But I will tell you, imagine in a time 10 years from now, and I think we're going to get there, Tom. Imagine 10 years from now, if you're sitting behind your desk. I remember I'm talking to the founder of Lululemon. I don't know what his net worth is today, Rob, if you want to put him up. He's one of the most interesting guys. I think his name is Chip Wilson, who is probably a $4 billion guy. Type in net worth. What is his net worth today? Chip Wilson, $6.3 billion guy today. We're sitting there doing a podcast. You know what he said in 20 years? He said in 20 years, everyone's going to be in shape. So what do you mean? He said, it's not going to be a big deal for you to have a six-pack. I said, what are you talking about? He says, there's going to be clothes you're going to wear that's going to tell you and report on exactly what your body is doing, get up and walk. So imagine now we go to a point where we're wearing clothes that your body is working out throughout the day while you're working. So the shirt is working out your biceps. The shirt is working out your forearms. The shirt is working out your chest, your lower back, your abs. So we all go to the beach. Everyone's looking jacked, right? Everyone's looking great. So then what is workout? Right. What do gyms do? What's the purpose of that? So I guess a part of it is if AI is going to prevent you from having to think, why are you important? Why are you useful? Does it become a companion? Does it become a partnership? No matter what it is, you have to find a way to maneuver and make some good moves because the opportunity is there. But I also think a lot of people are going to be destroyed the next 5, 10, 15 years because they don't take advantage of the opportunities. Like usual, like it happens all the time. Brandon.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I thought, like, right from the beginning of the AI, I was like, yeah, what does make people unique if they could give you all the information in the world? But I think it's how good are your questions that you ask because, you know, it could tell you anything, but if you're asking it stupid, basic questions that don't really give you any value, then it doesn't, you know, it's not going to be unique from everybody else. But if you could have the best questions, you could, you know, take the best angles on things and, like, go down different rabbit holes and, like, either useful information or not useful information. So I think that's what makes it different for people.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happened. Let's do a last story before we wrap up. Kevin Hart. Media company, okay, comes out, and there's a lot of stories on this. Just a few years ago, it was valued at roughly $600 million when we read about it, and now the entertainment company is reportedly in crisis after layoffs and lawsuits, according to TMZ, and I don't know what the story is, but let me get into it. So Kevin Hart's business with the world might be running low on punchlines because behind the scenes, insiders say that there's been layoffs, lawsuits, and chaos instead of comedy. A new Bloomberg report claims that the comedian's once booming media empire Heartbeat has seriously downsized in recent years with executive shakeups, stalled projects, canceled staff meetings, and multiple rounds of cuts, gutting the company from the inside. The drama reportedly escalated after Kevin quietly stuck a deal in January with Authentic Brands Group, the company behind celebrity brands tied to stars like Shaq, Beckham, and others. While the announcement sounded like a power move, the report says the deal also gave Hart money to buy out his private equity partners and move his endorsement business into the hands of Authentic. Employees allegedly feared that was the beginning of the end, especially as Hart reportedly became more removed from the day-to-day operations, leaving a small group of executives to steer the ship while he focused on films and movie projects and other things. And the story gets even a little bit deeper where he changed the phone number after layoffs at his struggling media company. Kevin Hart vanished from his struggling media company. Tom, what do we know about the story? What do you know about the story?
I don't know the depth of the media company. I know two things. One, a lot of people said, I just got laid off. So apparently the news reports are correct or directionally correct that a ton of people just got laid off. We know that. And the number two thing that we know is that Kevin Hart seems to have done this twice. I'm not picking on Kevin Hart. Apparently he had a restaurant prior, and when it went bankrupt, he didn't want to handle the news media or something is what people were saying. I'm not saying this, is what others said, that he changed his phone number and kind of hid and let the smoke clear from the restaurant. Now it appears that this one goes under, and once again, he changes his number and kind of hides, let the smoke clear. You know, these celebrities need to understand things, and that is, when you lose in the entrepreneurship world, you haven't lost. You've just gained experience. You may have lost money. It may be painful, it may be humiliating, maybe difficultly, but you just got an MBA in whatever didn't go right. And people don't see that and don't understand that. In a celebrity world where everybody from your business manager to your chef tells you how great you are, you live in this world of perpetual edification. And Pat, sometimes celebrities aren't ready for the pride-swallowing siege that can be building a business and going over the bumps of life. So I'm not criticizing Kevin Hart, but it appears that he's handled two business closures kind of the same way.
I want to read this to you. So days before Thanksgiving, they fired about 20 out of their 80 employees at Heartbeat. The company later cut additional workers tied to podcasting and scripted television, including executives involved with a barbershop TV adoption for Amazon, a second season of animated series like Little Kev. And then in weeks afterward, Hart changed his phone number, according to Bloomberg, which reported that advisors had long encouraged him to make himself less accessible. Okay, so I got a lot of opinions on this, but Brad Lea, I'll come to you first, and then I'll give my thoughts. Go for it.
Well, first, again, I hate to be the guy that says it continuously, but who says this is true? First of all, the media is filled with lies. Not only that, people hate. So who says he's actually doing this? But let's pretend that he actually is. First of all, I think, having my phone number is a privilege, if you ask me. So if you violate that privilege with negative nonsense and I want to shut you out, I'm changing my phone number. I don't owe you my phone number, even if you work for me. I don't owe you access to me personally. So if you don't value the access and honor the access, well, then I'll just remove the access. I don't blame him for doing it. I mean, at the end of the day, he's Kevin Hart, right? Shut the phone off. I'm not taking any negative. The media's nonsense. You guys are all overreacting, freaking out. We had to fire 20 people. Big deal. Welcome to being an entrepreneur. To me, I'm the opposite. Like I won't fire the 20 people because I feel bad. The guy's got some shrewd operators probably on his side, and I don't blame him at all. Now, again, that's assuming that it's true.
Is he being a good leader of the company, though, there, like by not being there for so much and not like giving them clear direction on what they're doing?
Who says he is the leader?
It's his company, isn't it?
Well, again, it's his brand. You know how many brands are licensed?
But this is different. This is actually his company. So to me, it kind of goes to where you're talking about, and not.
And who's he changing his number for? Like, again, this is just the media talking crap. How do you know that this is even real? Call Kevin. You probably could if you had his number still. But I mean, like, I don't know. I just doubt.
This is what I'll tell you.
I get hate, so I just doubt the hate.
This is what I'll tell you. To me, my feedback on this is the following. If you're an entertainer and you're somebody that a lot of people are watching and seeing what George Clooney did with his tequila deal when he sold it. I don't know what he sold it for, but he sold it for a few $100 million. Then they saw what Ryan Reynolds did. Was it with Mint Tom, what Ryan Reynolds did?
Yep.
And he sold that. Then they see Reese Witherspoon with her book club, which, by the way, a lot of people don't know this, but Reese Witherspoon, he sold it to Diageo for up to $1 billion June 17. The deal included $700 million in payout and $300 million based on performance over the decade. All right. Go to Reese Witherspoon's net worth. Type in Reese Witherspoon, right? And she created a book club. And then she started doing deals, and it turned into movies and all this other stuff. And then she went from a regular thing to, look, in 2021, sold majority of stake in a media company which produced hits like Big Little Lies and The Morning Show to Blackstone in a deal valued $900 million. And this is Reese Witherspoon. People are like, not every talent is a great operator, and it's not for everybody. some people who, just because you're a great salesperson doesn't mean you're going to be a great sales leader. Just because you're a great sales leader and a salesperson doesn't mean you're going to be a good business owner running your own company. You're just a good sales guy. You're a good sales, and there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of sales leaders make more money than the guys running a company. They just do, right? But it's this part where you say, screw you, because to me, I was a guy that was a salesperson. And then they said, yeah, but you're not a sales leader. And then I became a sales leader. And then I was like, yeah, but I went and said, look, I want to one day be a CEO of this company. How can I get some equity? The lady, Susan, laughed at me. I said, oh, so you will never leave. You're just here to ask some money. Oh, no shit. Yeah. You really believe I'm faking this? Yeah. Okay, cool. Jeff came pick me up, went to his house, said, I'm starting a company. We shook hands. Later on, 3 months later, he didn't come. I started it by myself with $500,000 of saving. We sold the company for $250 million. And the market's like, oh, wow. So then it's like media. Well, we think we can be media. Who do you think you are? Just because you're a good businessman, you sold it, but you think you know media? I don't know. Maybe we can't. But the market is brutal. There is who you think you are, and then there's the market. And if you want this kind of respect from the market and a massive payday, guess what comes with the territory? A lot of hate, a lot of criticism, a lot of shit that will be revealed on what was happening. If there's continuous patterns, then people are going to sit there and say, do I want to be involved in the next deal with them? I don't know. But when it comes down to talent, you crush it as a talent. So like Logan Paul has, what do you call it? What's that drink that he has? Prime, right? Do you know what percentage him and KSI own of Prime? What do you think they own of Prime?
10%.
I think it's splitting. It's a 20 each, Rob. We talked about this. They own each 20%. He owns 20%. KSI owns 20%. But guess who runs the whole thing? Congo Brands. And what's the revenue right now? $1.2 billion in sales in 2023. You know what it was in 2025? They own 20% of this, but they're not operating it. So maybe the feedback to Hart is, dude, go on 20% of it. Go on 30% of it. Go on 40% of it. But let somebody operate and deal with the day-to-day shit. You don't want to deal with the day-to-day shit. You're trying to be a comedian. You're trying to be a talent. There's ways of that. Like The Rock did it the right way. He's got operators. And The Rock is about to be a billionaire if he isn't already. Right? LeBron James is now a billionaire because he's got other people that are running it. Look at one thing LeBron did. Definitely not a fan. I'm glad they got swept. And the best tweet I saw yesterday online was that Luka is officially cleared to play in Game 5. There is no Game 5. They got swept, right? But you know what LeBron does well? He realizes he's not an operator. He has others being the operator. So the market is super, super brutal. But I hope he comes out of this because he's one of the guys that if he's in a movie, our family has to watch it. He's that funny. He's that talented. Anyways, Brad Lea, great having you here. Gang, lots covered today. And for those of you guys that are tuning in, today's Wednesday, Rob, what podcast do we have going on tomorrow?
Paul Saladino.
Paul Saladino goes on tomorrow. One of the funniest. The stuff we talked about was so inappropriate, but so educational. If you watch, you will be so entertained. I'm just telling you, I rarely say this. He kept saying, I can't believe we're going there. I can't believe. We talked about everything. You're going to enjoy the podcast tomorrow with Paul Saladino, and we'll be back on Friday. God bless everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.